You've undoubtedly read the title and you're saying to yourself, Jordan, didn't you just make a video about a new camera like 2 weeks ago? Yeah, I did. And as I told you at the beginning of that video, it's a problem. I know, I understand. Today we're going to be unboxing and taking a quick look at the Sony RX10 Mark III. This is not a brand new camera. This camera actually came out in the middle of last year, but when I bought my Sony a6300 that I'm currently filming this video with, I bought it with a zoom lens, a telephoto zoom lens, and I tested it out, and while it was a great lens, it just really didn't get the telephoto that I was looking for. So like sporting events and kids recitals and things that are far away that I want to be able to capture on video, it would have done some of that, but not necessarily as much as I'd like. This thing, for a lot more money, does a ridiculous amount of stuff. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. So the RX10 Mark III, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a point and shoot camera. It's not a mirrorless camera, but it's also not a pocketable point and shoot camera. It's a big one. That does also mean that it does not have an interchangeable lens. The lens that comes built onto it is what you get no matter what. We'll talk more about the lens here in a minute as well, but as you can see from the back of the box, it has a 1-inch CMOS sensor, an XMOR sensor, 20 megapixels, an equivalent of 24 to 600 millimeter zoom range, and that's f2.4 to f4. That's a huge part of the reason as to why I even looked at this thing. 600 millimeters, that's really far away, and 600 millimeters at f4 means lots and lots of light can come in from super far away. 24 millimeters at f2.4 means that I can actually hold it at arm's length, if I can hold up that much weight, and still get myself and like another person with me. That's like the perfect vlogging camera, aside from just being really large. You can see on here it also does high frame rate, 960 frames per second, with up to 1/32,000th of a second shutter. That's only in electronic shutter mode though, and it has a 3-inch tiltable LCD screen, not flip out. That's still the thing that Sony is missing in my opinion, is that flip out screen. You get it on the RX100, but you don't get it on any other of their cameras that I'm aware of. But on the rest of the box, you can see it does 4K, it does full 1080p, it has XAVC-S codec, built-in Wi-Fi and NFC and HDMI out, has Zeiss glass on it, and still with all that Wi-Fi and NFC and everything, it does all the play memory stuff. Let's just break into it. I will admit, I've gone ahead and opened this up and I did take a quick look at the camera just to make sure everything was okay, but in the box you're gonna get all kinds of warranty documentation and lists of other things that Sony makes and Wi-Fi connection info and instruction manuals and stuff. The camera itself, which we'll put off to the side, it's chunk. A strap, which I probably will never use, but it would probably help a little bit in terms of managing the weight, a micro USB cable for charging, and a Sony branded USB wall wart, which does output 5 volts at 1.5 amps. A battery, a Sony NP-FW50, same as I use in the a6300, and same as most of the Alpha series cameras use. And then as far as the camera, came with this nifty little lens hood in the pack if you want to use that, but here it is, the Sony RX10 Mark III. Go ahead and take that off just so you can get a better look at it. And of course, first and foremost, you can see that lens, that beautiful, beautiful glass. f2.4 to 4, 8.8 to 220 millimeters, equivalent to about 24 to 600. And for it being a 600 millimeter lens, it by default is not very huge, but it does get larger whenever you turn it on. And while we're at all this, let's go ahead and put this battery in. You see it faces out like this. Just pop it in. And there's no SD card slot in here because SD card slot is on the side. Just pop it open, SD card will fit right down in there. On the top you can see all kinds of dials and buttons and switches. Switch on right here. And of course the battery comes dead, so I'll have to swap it out for one of my other ones. And there we go, it did come up. You can see it does have a top display here, showing f2.4 and 1/60th of a second because I do have it in movie mode currently. You've got a couple of custom function buttons here, as well as a backlight for the LCD, so if you want to use it in the dark, you can definitely do that. Flash button right here, pops up the flash. You got your hot shoe on the top. Mode dial over on this side goes between auto, PASM, movie mode, panorama, high frame rate mode. There's a memory recall in there also. Exposure compensation over here. The shutter button actually has a screw hole into it because from what I understand, you can actually use a remote bulb shutter with this. In terms of zoom range, this is kind of ridiculous, but we'll go ahead and zoom all the way in. So there's the full extent of the zoom. You can even see the 35 millimeter equivalents on here. You can use this zoom ring to do the zooming, or just use this right here like you would with a camcorder or something. We'll just go back out to wide. There you go. I do have it set to fast, so it is zooming and faster than it normally would, because that's an awful long distance to zoom. But doing it that way, you get there in like 2 or 3 seconds instead of a lot longer, especially in movie mode. Looking back at the lens though, in addition to this zoom ring, you've also got a focus ring if you want to do manual focusing, and an aperture ring. You can see it's at f5.6 right now. We can take it all the way down to f2.4. It also clicks. I don't know if you could hear that, but it is clicking. But there's a switch on the underside to go from click or not, and now it's smooth. Still makes a little bit of noise, but it's not loud. On the front, there's a focus hold button that can be remapped. There's also a focusing switch for single, continuous, DMF, and manual focus. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what DMF stands for, sorry. Jumping on to the back though, menu button, movie button, additional dial, it can be used for various things, exposure lock, zoom button, function button, mappable custom ring here, so up, down, left, right are all remappable, as well as the center button, play and trash. And then over on this side, some of the most important things in my opinion. Of course, you got HDMI out and USB in for charging, but you've also got mic in as well as a headphone out. This thing has a headphone jack. That's ridiculous. It's actually the first camera I've ever owned that has a headphone jack. Will I use it? I don't know, maybe. The screen, as I was saying before, unfortunately does not flip out. It comes straight out, goes up, goes down 45 degrees, but it doesn't actually flip around. But for what it is, this thing packs an awful lot of features, especially with that 600mm zoom into a decently, let's say a reasonably sized package. It's about the size of a normal small DSLR. I would say it's probably about the same size as the Canon T2i, T4i, T6, T7, whatever they're on now. Maybe just a little bit bigger than that. But just taking a look at the Sony zoom lenses, I looked whenever I went to Best Buy and bought this. The zoom lenses were all larger than this lens. And when you pair it up with the A6300 that I'm using, there was no way to get a zoom that covered anywhere near the range that this zoom covers with the aperture that this covers for less in price than this is, and for smaller size. So this actually ticks a lot of boxes, both for photos and for video. And I think without any further ado, let's go ahead and try it out for some photos and for some videos. I'm shooting this in 1080p 60, so I'll just go ahead and leave this in 1080p 60 as well, and I'll walk around and give you an idea of what it looks like in different lighting scenarios, take it outside and stuff. I will leave the steady shot turned on. It has 4 different options for steady shot. If we come in here, you see steady shot is on. Right now it's on intelligent active. You can do active, standard, or off. From what I remember, you can only use standard if you're in 4K mode. Active and intelligent active work just fine in 1080p mode though. So let me grab a card, put it in here, and do some quick shots for you. And now welcome to the Sony RX10 Mark III. This thing, just holding it in my hand like this, very first impressions, it's heavy. Putting it on a stick or a mini tripod or something would definitely help a little bit, but I'm just sort of walking around the house in different lighting scenarios to give you an idea of what this footage looks like and sounds like being handheld with the intelligent, active, steady shot turned on. Just my brief testing of it earlier, f2.4 does an excellent job, and the focusing was actually surprisingly fast as well. It's a Sony camera, so I would really expect no less. Hopefully it's staying in focus in this room because this is a very dimly lit room right now. And if it is, awesome. But I guess we probably ought to take it outside and see what that's like. So welcome to the back deck. Much brighter out here. Flip it around and take a little look. We've also got a little bit of wind coming through here. Not a whole lot though. You can see it's moving the tree over there. And then you've got the fun part of zoom. So let's just see where we can zoom to from here. Basketball. Zooming in on the basketball. Zooming in. And that is the full reach, 600mm. I went a little bit too far at first because I've got the clear zoom turned on. You can even go with clear zoom a little farther. That's about as far as you can go. And this is handheld, I'm not on a tripod or anything. But that's about 600mm, so very impressive, especially when you zoom back out and you see just how far away that was and how small that object is. Yeah, that's really small. And then we turn it back around on myself, and again, hopefully it comes back into focus. I'll step out into the sunlight so I'm a little easier to see. But just initial impressions, having taken a look at some of the footage, I think it looks good, and even the microphone in the car sounded very good. I'm curious how the wind canceling will be doing because I didn't touch anything wind related in the camera. There we go, I've gone ahead and back into the menus and turned the wind canceling on, the wind reduction, I think is what it's called. Set it to on because all it had was off and on. So now we have a little bit like small breeze coming through, and this is just it wind canceling. And actually, the more that I'm holding this, the more sort of comfortable it's becoming in my hand. I'm gonna have to be very careful not to move the zoom ring though, because I'm kind of holding my hand around the lens. But it's not that bad. It's not as heavy as you might think, and there is a breeze coming through now. And again, for the sake of comparison, I'm back here at my desk. I've got the A6300 in hand because I'm filming on the Sony RX10 Mark III using my normal audio setup, which is the Focusrite Scarlett CM25 Mark II overhead microphone. It's a condenser mic plugged into my Tascam DR60D Mark II running from there into the camera. And actually I've got an HDMI out going into a little monitor beside it, and I can see the levels look good. The picture looks pretty decent. Hopefully the focus is pretty good. Let's see. So there's the focus, and then we'll take it down, and it focused back on me pretty quickly. Back to this, and then back to me. That's pretty decent. It looks like getting to the face, it's got a little bit of a breathe to it. And then back on the Sony, and back on me. It does go just beyond and then comes back. That's not that big a deal, but I don't think I'm really doing that terribly often. I mean, if I hold something up in front of the camera, it focuses on it. If it focuses back to me, breathes just a little bit, it seems to get the job done, as long as it does focus on the face eventually. So I just watched back some of that footage in the monitor here actually, and it's not bad. It's actually decently impressive. And now a bit of an extreme low light test. I've just got 2 very dim lights on at the other end of the room, and I did expand the maximum ISO on this to 12,800. That is as high as it will go in video mode, but I just did a quick test using this, and even though it is kind of noisy, for the amount of light that's actually in this room, it's surprisingly good looking. And now back over to the A6300. Things shouldn't have changed a huge amount. The biggest difference here was that this was able to go to f2.4. So I was at f2.4 ISO 320, and on this I'm at f4 ISO 500, both at 1/100th of a second. And I will have to take some time and actually go into the computer and see what the video files look like and what the audio sounds like and everything, but just very early impressions of this, aside from it being a very, very large camera and a decently expensive one at about $1,400 at Best Buy. I love the quality of the video. I love the quality of the photos, and the fact that I'm able to zoom in on things that are really far away and get them up close. This could be really nice for doing sports photography and portraits. It's gonna be fun trying it out. My kid's got a baseball game coming up soon. I think we're gonna be going to some minor league baseball games this summer, so this will definitely be in my camera bag for that. So if you'd like to see some follow-up stuff on it, let me know and I can do that down the road. If you'd like to see more done with this in the very near future, I'm doing a video over on my vlog channel. Feel free to go check that out. But thank you guys, as always, for watching. A link to where you can find this, probably on Amazon and Best Buy and B&H and wherever else, will be available down below. Hit the thumbs up if you like this video. Hit the thumbs down if you didn't like it, and if you didn't, feel free to let me know what I did wrong or what's wrong with the product I'm talking about in the description. Subscribe to the channel to get notified whenever I put out new videos. Ring that notification bell so you actually get notifications, and I'll see you again next time.